Just you lot to make it through the day, but I burn my time and watch it fade away. The sky turns up, the light just goes opaque. A garden grows in time and not the other.
Welcome back to another episode 5. Can you believe that? I was mostly talking to my kitten to my left. He's out of frame. I remember episode 5 of Half Completed Thoughts. It was with Pat Faley, good buddy of mine. I'd like to think that I'm the godfather of his daughter. He said he told me first. Maybe I was just the first person he texted, and he called like 50 other people. I'm just kidding. Pat knows I'm the type of guy where I don't want that pressure. He understands me well. He's one of those guys where I want people noodling around ideas of what to make me or where to include me. He's the type of person that says, I want to do that because this is probably how Josh feels about it. Good guy to have in your corner. Pat Faley. Miss you, Pat. Yeah, episode 5. Wow, guys. The last time I did an episode, I was complaining about the lighting. I'll probably do a little bit of that today because that all happened yesterday, and I'm right back at it. That's one of the perks of having a podcast that has a lot of here's the scenario, because I've had my whole life's work to think of absolute insane shit. This one's not that insane. So I could probably film every day if I wanted to, if I had the time. Fortunately, I have to work 2 days out of the week. I'm just kidding. Last week I only worked 2 days of the week. That was good. Actually, no, I think I'm wrong. Episode 5 was my good pal, John Allison. Episode 5 was not Pat Faley. I think it came out New Year's Day, 2023. Oh boy. Yeah, he once told me, he said, you're Josh Glore and you do what the fuck you want. Which I think about like once a month. Especially, it's not true. I set a lot of boundaries. I play scenarios in my head. And I'm like, I would never, ever do that. But I think about it. I think what he meant to say is, you're Josh Glore and you think what the fuck you want. But you put boundaries even to what you think. And you think not once, twice, but you just overthink whether or not you should say it out loud. Love, John. Gotta give him a call. He's free Thursdays. That's what he told me last time. I said I'd give him a call in 2 weeks. That was a month and a half ago, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I don't think he's watching this, but next time I talk to you, John, I got good news. I got news that I think you'll be really proud of me. Hopefully you're watching these. Probably not. He's the guy that told me to do a podcast in the first place. Gotta give it to you, John. That with that idea you planted in my head, you really pulled out some insecurities that I didn't even know existed. Shout out John. Love him. He told me to read Rick Rubin's book. I told him that's not happening, but I'm glad he's pulling things from it. What else can we loosen up the show with? Or is everyone just on the edge of their seats about what this week's scenario could be? Probably not. That's not how it works. Sorry, last episode was a little too political. I don't ever intend to go there. But I did. And it wasn't even that political. I just don't like expressing my beliefs to anybody else. I like suppressing my political beliefs and knowing I'm allowed to believe in what I want to believe in, but not letting other people know they should believe my thoughts. Believe what you want. We can get a fucking animal in the White House. Isn't there like a cat somewhere in the United States that's mayor as a joke? I want to live in that town. That town sounds like it's up. Obviously the cat's not stamping his paw, which they used to do that for cats on boats to eat mice and rats. They'd make passports for the cats and they'd stamp. It's not like the cat's doing that for bills or city council meetings. I don't know what a mayor does. I know every Chicago mayor, that's always a mouthful. Whether it's good or bad, always a mouthful. But obviously there's a real mayor, and it's like an honorary, like, you know how people get honorary degrees or honorary doctorates? Sign me up for one of those, by the way. I want to live in that town where everyone seems to have a sense of humor. I said I was pro-joke last. I'm always pro-joke. Always. There's a joke. For instance, political. There's a funny right-leaning joke and left-leaning joke. I would choose whichever one's funniest. Sign me up to live in... if I had my laptop, I'd look it up. All right, we're all loosened up. Let us dive into the weeds. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. Maybe it's a sunny day, changing of the seasons, it's late spring to summer. Summer's around the corner. Summer might be around the corner. Maybe it's just one of the first beautiful spring warm days. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's not your cup of tea. Maybe the leaves are changing. Who gives a shit? I don't know. You decide to play hooky, which I support 100%. I've played hooky more than I needed to. It's somewhat of a guilty feeling, but that's the freedom of an adult. It's like you're not missing... Maybe you got deadlines. I don't know. Maybe you take your work home with you. That's not good. But if you don't take your work home with you, it's one of the all-time greatest feelings. I played hooky to go to Dave Chappelle. That was fun. Only because Chappelle announced that he was coming to the venue 5 days before the show. So I had no other option. And I wasn't going to risk trying to switch shifts with somebody and then word gets out that I need that day off. So then it's guilty coming back to work. Nope. Just straight up called off. Also a fun tip. If you see how I'm sitting on the couch, if I flipped my body... my feet were up in the air, my head was hanging off the edge of the couch, you sound a little sick. I saw that on TikTok once. It does work pretty good. Some people call off work saying they need a mental health day. I think that's silly. What's your ideal mental health day? Some people just need to recharge sleeping. I feel like if you call off and you're just sleeping a lot or taking a nice size nap, I just feel like that's a waste. But some people do. Maybe that's part of a mental health day. Believe me, I got many screws loose in my head. Very aware of it. It's just I'm gonna look straight at the camera and say I am an adult and don't need to say I need a mental health day. Some truth in that, some not. Half of it was a joke. Yeah, I'm not a mental health. I'm just calling off for the whole benefit of calling off. Haven't done it in my new job, mostly because if I don't want to work, usually you can post a shift pretty quickly. Works best the day before. So if I work at 11 and I wake up at 9, I post a shift. I don't think many people are picking it up. I called off, though, being actually sick. That was not fun. This isn't important. Went into work, felt like shit, got sent home, had a day off, called off another day, and then had another day off. And then I went into work. Still, I was feeling a little bit better, but I still felt like shit. I had a mask on. My manager, he just hit me with an all-timer, though. He said, who are we operating on? And I did not expect him to be capable of that. And he does not seem like, I don't know, show up to work with a mask on. He delivered it like this. Who are we operating on? Like, it literally sounded like some concern, like he's never seen a mask before. But obviously he has. I mean, this isn't playing hooky, but one time I called off work. This is insane. I called off work because my seatbelt wouldn't buckle. I didn't call off explaining that, but I just called off and said some other shit about my car. But if someone calls off because their seatbelt doesn't buckle, that's an all-timer right there. I encourage anybody to use that one, especially if you're telling, like, honest-to-God truth. Because you make a valid point. You're not going to drive without a seatbelt. What is this, the fucking 50s? I guess, what's your ideal day calling off? Maybe it is a mental health day. Maybe my mental health day is playing hooky. Obviously, Ferris Bueller packed that day in. He's at a parade, Sears Tower, Wrigleyville. What else did he do? Some restaurants in the Loop. He loaded that day up. In Colorado Springs has about, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, like 500,000 people. That's... I think, right? Somewhere around that ballpark. It's just big enough to where you could call off and go have a ball in the town. Maybe not in the town, but you could make a day out of it where you don't run into people that you might work with or might ask questions. It's big enough to do that, but it's also small enough to where if you go like downtown, your cover could get blown quick. I would sometimes call off, and Nova would want to go get a drink or somewhere, and I just fear somebody'd see me. And then I made the joke. I guess I kind of did call off, and I think I called off, but I was feeling better-ish. We went to go get food, and I made the joke someone's going to see me in a city with 3 million people. Nobody, like, I think I work with lives in my part of town. That's good about Chicago. Colorado Springs, people ask me, I remember my friend Nick asked me, do you love old Colorado City? Because I lived by it, and cute little neighborhood. And I said, I was like, it's cute, and then you realize you're going to move to Chicago where there's like, Colorado Springs, folk, this is how I would describe Chicago. Chicago is a city of neighborhoods. So go ahead and think of 77, I think, 77 neighborhoods. And then right in the middle-ish, there's a big-ass concrete jungle of a downtown, which is called the Loop. Beautiful, best skyline in the world. Granted, you can hardly see it because it's always so goddamn cloudy and smoggy. No sunlight coming in. And then you got like 77 old Colorado cities surrounded, all different and unique. Couldn't play hooky and go to the one neighborhood in Colorado. I know Colorado Springs has lots of neighborhoods, but it's just different. Speaking of Chicago, I might get a Italian beef after this. I meant to do it yesterday, but I got so wrapped up in the podcast. Yesterday's episode I edited from start to finish minus clip chunking. Like, I recorded it, and from pressing play in the first few seconds to it's a full episode queued on YouTube, ready to be published at the end of the month. I've done almost everything in the whole process, start to finish, minus the clip chunking. So I didn't get to do an Italian beef yesterday because the place I go to closes at 7. Had a sour taste in my mouth. There's a L station, train station for non-Chicagoans, and I got off. I was walking right into it. It was like 6:57, getting ready to turn, and they just said they were closing the door and said we're closed. That could have obviously left an impression on me, but I chose for it not to. I'm not gonna let that define them. I'm ready to get out of work too. Always good people, good solid portions, very fair prices. Budaki's Drive-In is what it's called. That sounds Midwest. It sounds immigrated into the Midwest, but see, somebody told me those names like Budaki, if it ends with I, that's Polish. If it ends with Y, that's Russian. My history teacher told me that. Usually, good rule of thumb. Anyways, so, because there's skis too, like Pulaski, that's a road in Chicago, ends with I, SKI. That is most likely Polish. If it ends in SKY, probably Russian. Alrighty. Now the history lesson's out of the way. Yeah, so I'm calling off. I got to do it as early as possible. I got to have the day. I want to get a jump start on the day. Oh, and Ferris Bueller went to the Art Institute. I remember. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a pretty simple guy. Maybe breakfast. Nothing like calling off and getting a little, sneaking a little bit of the brunch hooch. That's fun. But you got to be careful with that because that can derail your day pretty. If you want to have an epic day, maybe have the self-control not to go for the second mimosa. My personal favorite is a Tequila Sunrise. We were just talking about Colorado Springs. Bontons in Colorado Springs, specifically in Old Colorado City. Best Tequila Sunrise I've ever had. It was the first one I ever had too. Like, so, and I've had some shitty ones. So thank God the first, because if the first one was a shitty one, I would have turned me away from Tequila Sunrises in a heartbeat. It tasted just like a creamsicle. So good. The only thing I don't like about Bontons, one, the overpriced 3-drink limit. Maybe that's just the disease and me. Really angry about that, but it's a pricey place. You don't want to get more than 3. That's already a hefty bill right there. Yeah, so you got to be careful on the drinks. It can really derail your day, but maybe that's all you need is just a nice brunch on a weekday or a day. It's just so good calling off and like playing hooky. It just feels so naughty. It feels like a whole extra day in your life. Sometimes it feels like you're just whatever you decide to do, you were destined to do it on that day. Very good. But I have also been guilty. I don't have an ideal call-off day. I don't know why I'm trying to create an itinerary. I always like the fact, not calling off, but a no-call, no-show. And I'm sick. I fantasized about this, and you just kill yourself. You don't need to call off. or you're calling in on your way to work, you're running late, and you just didn't have the balls to pull the trigger, and you're like, yeah, I wasn't supposed to be here today. And they're like, you were scheduled, and no, that's not what I was talking about. But yeah, no call, no show, and they're really worked up about it, and they're like, oh well, he painted his bedroom with his brain, so maybe we should relax, give him the benefit of the doubt. And now that I'm thinking about it, I've called off a lot at my old place, and I was a textbook employee. I was a good example. Supervisors admired me. Yet I called off. Or if I could scheme my way out of work, if I was just feeling I think this is sad. Men are just babies once it comes to being sick. That's I feel like a stereotype that's really true. And as that stereotype at least rings true with me. And so if I feel like an ounce, just the slightest ounce or hair under the weather, I want out of work. Or if it's slow and they can cut someone, that's a good thing about hospitality is cutting. You don't get that in corporate. Oh, I guess if they're not making quarterly projections, they'll find a way to cut you. But hospitality, you get cut. That's the dream. That's a perk. Lately, I've been cut too much. I've been taking advantage of cuts and working 2 days a week. But I would always scheme to try to get out of work. There was some light. One time I lied. Said I shit myself. I needed to go home. One time I thought of it, because I have shit myself. One time I pulled into work in the parking garage, shit myself, and I called, said I'm going to be late. I had to go back home and change. Not proud. I'm not even that proud of lying, other than the fact it's sort of funny. Job before that, called off. This was a good hooky day. Called off. That job was a point system though. So I racked up a point, and you cap out at like 4 or 5. Called off, went to Waterworld. That was fun. That was my first time drinking warm beer. I used to be terrified. I mean, I still am, and nobody wants to drink warm beer. But back in the day, we were underage drinking. You'd get a 30 rack, drink half of it one night, and then the next night, obviously you're underage, you can't put it in your refrigerator. Unless you had a refrigerator, which we ended up getting one. Yeah, that's a no-no. But my buddy would just drink it warm. He was like, yeah. So we drank warm trunk beer. I only drank one. That was my cap at the time. It was so new, and I finally warmed up to it. I'm like, I can only do one, though. That was a good hooky day. I'm trying to think if I had I think Dave Chappelle, although the show, that was more of an evening thing. So it's like I just stood around all day. Didn't have much going on until the end, and then I had to work the next day. That was kind of a letdown. I had to call off for a Tim Heidecker show. One time it snowed in May, called off. Hate driving. If it ain't 75 and sunny, it ain't good driving weather. That's what I always say. I need to put that on my resume. I just need to move to a better location. 75, sunny, I'm driving. I won't ever call off due to inclement weather. I saw a thing, craziest did not play I've ever seen. DeAndre ate and misses a game because the roads are too icy, which you got to give him. He was in Phoenix. They don't get snow or icy roads. I don't know where he grew up. Maybe California, Texas. He just couldn't do it. And craziest did not play I've ever seen, but also completely relatable. Did we march through it all? I know I started this with an ideal playing hooky day off, but I don't really have an itinerary. I've had very few. I feel like it's always best when it's spontaneous. If you're kind of like loathing work, or if you're only calling off for something that happens at the end of the day, it's not that special. Yeah, I think I don't know if I have too much more to say about it. It's nice when you got sick time, then you still get paid. Although you lose sick time for when you're really sick. But yeah, I think I marched through it. I think I'm ready to get out of the weeds. We'll just go to the bitch and moan of the week. And it's kind of intertwined with an act of spineless. Although this is one of the act of spineless I'm actually grateful for. So last night, didn't get a chance to get an Italian beef from Budaki's Drive-In, setting up shop on a podcast host and re-signing up for that shit. It went a little long, so I didn't really finish until like 11 at night. 10:30 actually, 10 more so. It's 10 o'clock. Like once Budaki's closed at 7, I was like, oh, maybe I can. I've been going to Chipotle lately, and I've been getting a burrito and a bowl. And I eat the burrito at home and the bowl the next day. It's 10 o'clock. Chipotle's closed. My cat's, it's mealtime, just went off. Automatic feeder. I was like, I got one thing that's left in the tank that I'm thinking about, and it was old Taco Bell. And the closest Taco Bell to my house is actually on Loyola's campus. Well, I guess Loyola and all these universities are kind of just on Chicago neighborhood territories. I don't know the specifics, but I'm on Loyola's campus. Is that how you say it? Loyola? La Jolla? No, Loyola. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say, Sister Jean. And no drive-through. You just go in. So, all these lights. It takes me it took like 40 minutes from when I left the house to get back, which is insane. The old Taco Bell in old Colorado City, that was only like 2-3 minutes away. I was back home within 20 minutes tops. So get the old Taco Bell. It's a little more populated in there than I'd like it to be for 10:30 at night. There's a guy. I think they want you to order from the tablet screens. That's fine. I'm okay with that. No talking. Count me in. There's a line for it. It's a very hot spot for DoorDash pickups. And as a matter of fact, that's the only reason why I go to that one is because if I've ever ordered it on DoorDash, which guilty, I was like, that must be the closest one to my house. There's a guy getting frustrated that he's waiting. I think maybe he sees his orders. They have like a couple bags, and he's like, hello. Is anyone going to acknowledge that I'm standing here? And they're like, the last thing I want to do is piss off anybody in fast food. They hold just a little bit of power. They also complain a lot. But I've said this before. When you give adults a surviving wage, you're giving them a voice. Last person I want to piss off. Finally, he's like, can I get a manager? May I speak to a manager, please? And that's sending so much anxiety right into my core. Finally, somebody says, and he's like tapping on the counter. He's like, I gotta go to work. Like, I get it. Like, I get, like, but that's the world, pal. It's not on our terms. I could never, ever in a million years do that. Mainly because I'm spineless. And this podcast and my persona on stage is a way to say things I'm truly thinking, but I can't say in the situation. So that's something I can be when it's a situation like that. That's where I'm kind of just a tiny bit grateful to be spineless. To do that, you couldn't put a gun to my head and tell me to make a scene, and I shoot me dead, please. You'd be doing me a lifetime of just one favor. But yeah, just it's like it goes. Then they can funnel into the whole Karen thing. That's not fun. Who wins in that situation? And that's the mind-blowing thing is there's people that walk away and say like, yeah, I had to like with their hands on their hips, like I had to assert some dominance. I had to win. I won. It's like, dude, God forbid I ever have children, but I don't want my children being around and fucking impatient. That's another thing. It's one thing like if it's a life or death situation, but it's fucking Taco Bell. You said you're running late to work, 10:30. Maybe you work 11 to 7, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Let me just say this: I don't think you were born to do that job, whatever fucking job it is that requires you from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. That's not those hours, that frame, that shift. It's not usually the 1%ers working that shift. I'll tell you that. It's not full of difference makers. Maybe in the hospital. Maybe he does work at the hospital. Maybe it was life or death. The last person in a life or death situation I want is some fucking asshole licking his fingers from eating Taco Bell to fucking resuscitate me or give me an organ transplant. That's the last thing I want. Yeah. Anyways, fucking couldn't be me. Could not be me. I always love that similar situation when you go to any inner city fast food chain and you walk in and nobody acknowledges you, whether it's the employees who are not acknowledging you or even the patrons inside the restaurant. It's just everybody's fucking sad, full of misery, thinking how the fuck I got here in this inner city fast food establishment. something to be grateful for. I mean, obviously in other situations like, hey, Josh, can you pick up a shift? You bet I can. Obviously, I want to change that. Couldn't be me. I just sit there. I enjoy the ride. For mostly worse, not typically for better. Hotline still up, guys. I know all these videos and episodes came out at once, so I should probably be pushing it and the clips and let alone the episodes, but I got to have something to clip, right? So go ahead. Call or text, you're going to be leaving a voicemail, so don't think I'm picking it up and really putting you under a don't think I'm answering the call live on the podcast. Although if someone did call, I would try to while I was recording, I would try to incorporate that. Call or text anything you want at area code 719-213. That's my phone number. Hold on. Area code 719-507-2006. Please blow that up and we'll get to add another section of the show. I felt like I just said section weird. So yeah, I think I'm going to go get that Italian beef now. All right, guys. I will see you in the next one. I'm guessing that there's going to be 7 episodes all released on launch day before I have the amount of clips that I want and I can post 3 times a day. 7's my guess. So this was 5. We got 2 more and that's coming out weekly, baby. All right, guys. See ya in the next one.
Then I think you should leave.